Welcome to the Nicole Small Show, where we give you straight talk with no chaser. Here, we discuss issues from the White House to your house. And now, here's your host, Nicole Small.
Good morning and welcome to the Nicole Small Show. Today is Monday, March the 15th. We're already in the middle of the year. So with today, we'll have a few guests on later, but I want to start off talking about a few things that are happening. I know last night was the Grammys. Does anybody really watch the Grammys anymore? Maybe because of the pandemic and it's not too much to do. But one thing that I did notice is that, of course, Megan Thee Stallion, she did a phenomenal job. She won several awards, and it was interesting to see how Cardi B, who was not a new artist, but I still consider her to be fairly new, how there was such support on the stage for Megan being somewhat of a newer artist into the hip hop industry, how they really supported each other. So after the whole Nicki Minaj fallout and this narrative about women not being able to support each other, I thought that was a really good look for the two of them to definitely be supportive, especially in Women's Month. So that was a good thing to see. Then also, let's talk about this, $10 billion that the state of Michigan is scheduled to receive this year from stimulus money. And sometimes I wonder, like in the work that we do, those of us who are really engaged on pushing more equitable policies, people who actually have an established organization on the ground, and you're looking for funding, to support those initiatives and the work that you're doing. Are we having any conversations about how to approach requesting some of those dollars? This is an additional $10 billion that the state will be receiving. You know, some of it will come into Detroit, but more importantly, we have people who are working on criminal justice reform, right? And with criminal justice reform, when I think about it, and just some of the people that I have spoken with and worked with, who really are entrenched in those efforts, you know, I always think about housing, actually securing housing outside of having to go right back home and live with your loved ones, with your family. That is a bit of that's an issue. It's a bit of a challenge for returning citizens to actually secure housing. And, you know, maybe there's some funding that can help them with that. I can only imagine if you come out as an adult. Some people are coming out. They went in young people and they're coming out senior citizens. Now you have to go and live with someone else. You know, sometimes people still want their own independence, seeing how they've already been incarcerated. So securing housing, being able to find that independence, securing employment is a huge issue, especially now during the pandemic. So what does that look like? So I know that those are some of the challenges that they actually face. Maybe some of the funding can be put into these programs to help them secure employment as well. Maybe some of these organizations, if they're able to receive some of the money, they'll be able to actually increase the number of staff opportunities, employment opportunities that they have. So that's just one of the things I was thinking about for returning citizens. We have a lot of food security programs, and that's one of our conversations today, as we have our brother Malik Yakini on today to give us an update on D Farms. But food security is a big issue. I will tell you this. I don't care if you're on the east side, the west side, the northwest side, the northeast side, southwest side of Detroit. When you go see these food banks giving out food, the lines are long. People are really coming out to get food. And I know a part of it is because children are home more because of the pandemic and everyone's not back in school. And that's another conversation we need to have one day. Who's sending their kids back to school? But, you know, so I know there are kids at home, they're eating up more food. Also, there are more people who are unemployed, right? Everyone isn't working from home. That is a myth. Some people are who were once employed before the pandemic, or maybe just at the beginning of the pandemic, they are now unemployed. So again, these food lines are extremely long, and there used to be a point in time where there was a lot of food left over, and that doesn't seem to be the issue anymore. So maybe we need to talk about how, you know what I mean, we can maybe better assist these food programs with getting the food to the people who aren't even out, able, they're not as mobile to get out and to go get the food. I worry about those people. Meals on Wheels is nice, but sometimes if you've seen those Meals on Wheels lunches that they prepare, they're not the best, as opposed to if you go to some of these food pantries, you know, they have a better quality of food. So maybe one of the organizations that assist with distributing food in the community, maybe they can get some additional dollars to make sure that they can actually have a transportation system in place to take better quality of food to some of the people who aren't mobile and able to get out and come to the food pantry. So that was another thought that I had. I would like to see some of that money come to assist people who have these outstanding water bills. Keep in mind, this executive order will be lifted for in Detroit. Let me say that in Detroit, there's an executive order, a moratorium, excuse me, on water shutoffs. So what's going to happen when that's lifted? That means that you still been incurring a bill. The bill is going to be extremely high. If you don't have a lot of money to put down in order to get into a payment plan, then your water is going to get shut off. So maybe there needs to be a look at how you could better support, especially people in Detroit, and I'm quite sure in Flint still, and in other areas, to make sure that you can offset some of that water debt. And then let's talk about housing. I have said this before. $32 million in the city of Detroit was allocated, an additional $32 million out of the previous CARES Act funds that we had. It was approved by City Council to go to HRD, which is the Housing Revitalization Department. And the reason why I keep bringing this up is because those dollars specifically said, if you read the agreement that was submitted to City Council, that housing would be, there would be secured housing for the homeless for up to 24 months. And I have asked around, it doesn't even seem that the majority of people who work with the homeless, who were feeding the homeless, that these people have had access to this opportunity. In addition to that, there was some funding to help people, to help prevent people from becoming homeless. With that additional, again, additional $32 million. So that's in addition to the budget that they already had, the funding that they already have for their budget. So when you think about that, we really need to do something about securing housing. I know that there was an opportunity for people to apply to receive assistance for their back rent. I don't know if that really applied to mortgages. I would only hope so. Housing is housing, whether you're paying a mortgage or paying a rent. If you can't afford it, like, no one wants to be evicted. So maybe they could put some more money into that fund as well. And then we need to figure out, like, who's doing the work to make sure that these people figure out a way to re-enter the workforce. When are the doors gonna open back up? You know, this thing at the city of Detroit, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. How is it that Congress has opened up, but we can't get any of the city departments to open back up? I'm thoroughly confused about that. You're going to tell me that you can't allow for some people to go to work and to social distance, and then for people to come take care of their business at the city by appointment? You can go make an appointment to go to the Wayne County office. When are they going to open up the city is what I need to know a little bit more. This is getting to be a bit extreme. But I think that it would behoove us to figure out, especially the people who are actually doing this work hands-on directly with the people who are in need, especially during this pandemic. Some of you have been doing it before the pandemic. You know, kudos to you, because you're doing the work that you said that you're living your purpose. But it's $10 billion coming to the state of Michigan. Are we having conversations about, writing a proposal to be able to receive some of that funding to help, restore our communities? Because we are going to face a huge issue if we don't have a plan as the doors start to open back up with this pandemic. Now, what I see is with this vaccine, and I don't know if they're going to open up the doors this summer or what, but with this vaccine, and because this is really being pushed from from DC, from the Oval Office, for everyone to take advantage of receiving the vaccine, it really makes me question that. Will the next steps be, once they get a certain percentage of people to take the vaccine, would that be the determining factor to open back up these cities and states? I don't know, but it's something to consider, absolutely. And if that's the case, there are a lot of, again, moratoriums that are in place, executive orders that are in place that will definitely be lifted. And I don't necessarily mean that that will open up the doors for people to have an opportunity to have access to a lot of jobs. I think that there's going to be a period of time where, there's unemployment is still going to be high and there won't be a lot of opportunities for employment. And so if that's the case, then now which programs are you going to have to make sure that you have supportive services and opportunities to help these people be able to survive until the economy really gets back on its feet? We need to think about these things. I always say we need to be more proactive instead of reactive. And so what does that look like? And I think with this $10 billion coming into the state, we should think about it, because our community is always the first to be used for somebody else's benefit, but the last to receive resources. So what if we start having those conversations now? And I really say this to the people who have organizations in place, who are doing the work. I think it should be a collaborative effort as well. Those of you who work on making sure that you secure housing for people, if you're supporting them with services to prevent eviction, that this executive order will be lifted, and we will have a lot of people who are in jeopardy of being evicted. I know the stimulus money is coming. There's a lot of conversation on social media about how people, should use their stimulus money. Let me say this. If you are a person with a child, and I get it, there are some things that maybe you have not been able to do. And I think that people just assume that when people get a lump sum of money like this, that they're not already in arrearage on other bills. So I get it. Rent is not the only thing that you have to pay. But let me say this. You don't want to get put out. And these landlords don't care, especially those who have been without money for months. They don't care. As soon as this order is lifted, they're going to evict you. And that's just the bottom line. They don't care whether or not court is still going to be on Zoom. If you live in Detroit or Wayne County, 36th District Court is still on Zoom. They are going to go and evict you. So that's a conversation you need to have. And maybe if paying your back rent would take up all of your stimulus money, find yourself some resources to help you supplement some of the back cost of your rent that you have, so you could get paid up, because they're going to evict you. We already know that. You could think that people have a heart, and no, these landlords want their money, and rent is so high right now, they probably could get more money than what you're paying them for rent. Keep that in mind. And that's just the reality of it, especially those of you who have children. It's just not a situation. Definitely, if you can avoid it, avoid it. So that would be my suggestion, is first, find some resources, especially with this $10 billion coming into play. And I don't know if you would be able to go back through Wayne Metro. I'm just assuming that if any organization that they're going to give some more money to, you probably will be them again, Wayne Metro, for you to go and receive some assistance for paying your back rent, because I believe those funds did run out. I don't know if they were able to restore any more funding, but if not, they should be with this $10 billion. right? So see if you could get them to pay some of it, and then that's less of your stimulus money that you would have to put in with it to be caught up on your rent so you're not evicted. Just a suggestion. And maybe some of you who are going to get quite a bit of money, including unemployment and that, maybe you could try to find you a house to purchase. That would be great if we could get more home ownership. But however, whatever, the stimulus money, I hear that some people did receive a direct deposit this weekend. So that should help with the burden, the financial burden that a lot of people are experiencing right now. Not here to tell you what to do, how to spend your money. This is not an attack on people who are receiving the stimulus money. I just want you to be aware that they are not going to allow for this order that they have not to evict people right now to continue to stand. We know how these systems work. This is just temporary. So, and when it happens, you know that the judge is going to make a decision based on the law. So you just don't want to be evicted. And that's the only thing I'm trying to warn you of. Protect yourself, because nobody else is going to look out for you. But I would strongly suggest to take a look at Wayne Metro. I don't know about United Housing Coalition. Maybe they could give you some direction to some resources as well, who will help you supplement the back rent that you owe. Just a suggestion. Then too, we need to take a look at how that money is going to be reallocated and used in the city of Detroit. So this is what I propose, that we have some type of conversation, and maybe this needs to be a Zoom meeting, of how we are going to push for city council this time not to allow the mayor to come before them and to ask for dollars to be reallocated to workforce development and all of this other garbage with no checks and balances. We need to demand that before they approve any money being used for COVID at the request of the mayor, that they put in place in that agreement before approval that the mayor will have to give them a 30-day report of how all of those dollars were used and specifically who they went to. Two, we need to push the city council demands that the mayor make sure that on the city's website and that he runs social media ads like he did before for Proposal Lynn, and make sure that Detroiters, to the best of his ability, and we know when the mayor really wants something to happen, boy, his abilities are endless, that he makes sure that there is a contact number, a website, and an email address for Detroiters to be able to access those funds. Because you know what happened with that last 90-something million that we received? There was one email address for you to email somebody at the city of Detroit. And if I didn't find out about it to tell you about it, most of you wouldn't have known. And I don't know anyone who received a response who actually reached out to that email address. That is unacceptable, that we have dollars that have been earmarked from the federal government to assist Detroiters during a pandemic, who are in a financial crisis, and you're going to tell me that the only access that you had to those dollars within the city, I'm not talking about these other organizations, was to email somebody at the city of Detroit? That is unacceptable. That means they didn't want you to really have access to the money, which is why Conrad Mallett, the deputy mayor, had to go before the council and say they didn't spend all of the money. You didn't spend all of the money because you didn't make Detroiters aware of how to access the resources. So those are the things that we need to be proactive about. They have shown us who they are. They have shown us how they will just rubber stamp whatever the mayor wants, with no regard for the people who are suffering and who are in need. So what we need to do is tell the city council ahead of time, no, if you're going to approve any of these dollars and how they're going to be used, approve it for the mayor. We need you to demand upfront, not on the back end, but upfront, that the mayor gives you a report every 30 days of how those dollars are being spent, every 30 days. And that should not be a problem. You have a whole financial department who can tell you how these dollars are being used, and they can do a report every 30 days. That report needs to be posted on the city's website as well. and it needs to be submitted to city council, and city council needs to put it on the agenda and review it publicly. That's what needs to happen. And they need to tell him to make sure that these resources, however they're going to be dispersed, however Detroiters can access them, that needs to be on the city's website so the Detroiters can make sure that they have access to it. So this time, actually, Detroiters maybe can get access to the $500 Meijer gift card. Maybe Detroiters can get access if you're going to give out $1,200 in stimulus money again, Mayor Duggan, of which I don't know anyone who received it. If Detroiters going to have access to get money for car repairs, hey, let us know how to do it. Don't keep it a secret and only have some of your district managers and people who work in the neighborhood department to tell specific people about how to receive this funding. Detroiters should be able to receive this funding, and you should make them fully aware of how to access the funding. Like, that's the whole goal. That's the way the government is supposed to work. That's the way that if you're receiving this money, it's because of the number of us who are in need. It's not because they think that you're a great leader. It's because you can justify having a certain number of constituents in this city that are in need, and that's why they allocate that a specific dollar amount to you. So if you're getting the money because of us, then shouldn't it be made available to us? Shouldn't we know where those dollars went, even for those of us who don't qualify to receive that funding? Yes, we should. And too bad we don't have a city council with the wherewithal to wield their power and to do their job, to tell you that you need to report those dollars to them and to make it public, make them information made available and to be made public. Just no checks and balances around here, of course. Right? They just say yes to the mayor. But when the public comes and asks city council to do something like, hey, give us a tax credit because we've been overtaxed, you still hunting and pecking, trying to find a needle in a haystack to figure out how to do that. Right? But when we submit it, an actual resolution to you to tell you how to get it done, you still don't see that either. This is the leadership that they think that you deserve. 2021 needs to be the year of change. It definitely needs to be the year of change. Also, I want to let you know before I get into what we're going to talk about tomorrow, Community Advisory Council. I hope that with these people who are getting signatures on the petitions, that you have been out during these nice days getting some signatures. I think that we need to have another report out meeting. Maybe I could schedule one of those for this Saturday. We were going to have one last Saturday, but 13th and the 14th meeting was going to cause some people not to be able to participate. So I'll go ahead and post that. We just need to have a quick report out, making sure people are tracking the number of petitions that they're getting signed, and we can have a better understanding of where we are in each district, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. With collecting signatures, so we can see how much more work we need to do to meet our goal. On April the 25th is the day that we want to submit the petitions to the city clerk's office. So actually, I will do that. I haven't heard from a lot of people. I know some of you are getting signatures, and some have called to say, Nicole, I've already completed my sheets. I think that that's great. But let's do a report out this Saturday at 11 o'clock, and then people can go off and enjoy their Saturday. So that's exactly what we'll do. I'll post a Zoom meeting this Saturday at 11 o'clock for everyone to report out. And then maybe you could partner with someone else to get some more petitions, and also maybe to go out and get some signatures together. That usually makes for better results, is when you have a partner with you to go and get the signatures. So that's one thing. Also, tomorrow, I want to talk about what's going on with 43 states having their voters' rights suppressed, right? That's what the Republican Party is working on. Meanwhile, guess what the Democratic Party is working on? You trying to get Como removed. We're going to get into this a little bit in more detail. We'll delve deeper into this tomorrow. But I just want you to think about something before we have this conversation tomorrow. I know here in Michigan, people still dancing in the street for the Michigan Democratic Party because Biden won. And I said this earlier. Okay, the celebration should be over. We need to get to work and we need to pay attention to what's really getting done at the Oval Office and what these Republicans are doing. I said it. I knew that they were going to, stay laser focused and be diligent in their efforts to turn over anything that they can, any good that the Democrats have created. I knew that they were going to be working to overturn it. And meanwhile, while I'm happy about the stimulus package that Joe Biden has gotten passed, we still have some other things that are on the table, like 43 states having their voter rights suppressed. That's serious work, especially considering the huge accomplishments that we just recently had by winning the majority of the Senate. What good is that doing us right now? I'm just saying. These are the things we need to focus on. We need to focus on, like the George Floyd bill. There are quite a few things that really we need to stay steadfast on, making sure that we're pushing and that it's at the forefront of their minds, right? And it is a priority on the table. Let me say that when it comes to some policies and some bills to be passed. But meanwhile, we got Democrats trying to remove another Democrat. And we can have more of a conversation tomorrow, but when are we going to become more strategic about winning and securing our power as a party, instead of always being so easily distracted about who we need to remove, we'll get into that tomorrow. I don't know. I just don't know if that needs to be our main focus right now. And I see a lot of energy being pushed and put forth towards that. And I think we have a lot of other irons in the fire that are definitely more important that we need to take a look at. So today we are going to have Sister Naomi Crawford is her name, Brother Malik Yakini from D Farms. They're going to give us an update on D Farms. Remember, I had Brother Malik on a couple of months ago, and he talked about how you can actually become a part of the co-op. And I know some of you were interested and said that you would do that. But also we're going to get an update as they're getting closer to being able to open up. Then they're going to talk to us about the farm. We need to have a conversation. And I know some of you are going to want to start growing some vegetables and everything, getting your garden going this year. But also I want to make sure that our community is aware of an actual farm that we have and where they will be selling some of their products that they're growing throughout the Detroit metro area. I received quite a few inquiries about, Nicole, should I take the vaccine? Shouldn't I take the vaccine? You guys are always saying, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you. I can only tell you what I'm going to do for myself. But also, quite a few people send me all of these videos and links to healthy ways of building up your immune system, some of the foods that we should be eating, and that's about eating to live. So we'll listen to Brother Malik about some of the things that they will be growing on a farm. And then after him, I'm bringing on a sister. Her name is Christine Smith. And I like to call her a herbologist. She is really into the herbs. But more importantly, what you need to do in order to build up your immune system, the real way that you need to do it. But then also what a real detox looks like. How to really get rid of those toxins out of your body. And if the pandemic didn't teach us anything else, is that we do need to pay more attention to what we're putting into our bodies, strengthening our immune system. So all of them will be coming up after the break. We'll take a short break, and first we'll come back with Sister Naomi. We'll be right back on the Nicole Small Show.
Tune in to the Nicole Small Show, Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 10 a.m., where you'll get straight talk with no chaser. If you miss a show, then you won't know. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook.
Protect the vote, Detroit. with Beverly Kendall Walker for Detroit City Clerk. Be the change you want to see in the world. So protect the vote August 3rd, 2021. Call or text Beverly Kendall Walker for more information at 313-618-9749. That's 313-618-9749. You voted, now what? You Voted Now What LLC is a social impact marketing firm for the business person looking for bold strategies to unleash the buying power of our community. That's social impact marketing. Find more info at info@youvotednowwhat.com. Mention the Nicole Small Show for a 15% discount. That's right. Email info@youvotednowwhat.com for more information. And remember, get your souls to the polls August 3rd, 2021 for the Detroit mayoral election.
Welcome back to the Nicole Small Show. Next, we have our guest, Sister Naomi Cawthorn from D Farms. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
So, Naomi, you are with D Farms. Tell us about what you do with D Farms.
Yes. So I'm the manager at D-Town Farm on the west side of Detroit. There we grow over 36 varieties of fruits, vegetables, and herbs. We have 3 indoor growing areas, or hoop houses, as they're also called. We have solar panels, water retention pond, and that's just the farm itself. Part of DBCFSN as a whole, we also work with youth in the Food Warriors program, and we're also working with community members to bring the Detroit People's Food Co-op into existence. So they all kind of go together, and I work primarily with D-Town on the west side. We're also a 7-acre farm. That's very important. Just for a picture, it's very large, and we grow on 2 acres of that 7, and the rest is kind of trails. And we also have an apiary, which is what we call where we keep bees.
Now tell us where this is located.
Yes, we are on the west side in the north end of Rouge Park. So it's Outer and Plymouth.
Okay, Outer Drive. All right. So let's talk about the youth program. I want to start off with that. When does that actually begin? Let's talk about the ages for people to make sure that, you know, if their children, to get their children interested in this opportunity.
Yeah.
And when should they start signing up?
Absolutely. So there are currently classes ongoing now. I'm unsure of the details of whether or not someone could join currently. So that would be reaching out to us at info@dbcfsn.org. The ages range usually from 4 to about 10 or 12. And yes, again, for the details on whether or not we're currently accepting, I know that we do have programming right now, but I know when the school year starts and these things, or when summer starts, new changes happen. So definitely check in with us on those details.
So let's talk about a little bit about the food co-op. How are things going? Give us a little bit of an update to where you are right now. I know that I spoke with Malik a few months ago, so you guys were still accepting applications for the membership, and it seems to be a strong interest in the co-op. So how are things going?
Yes. So Bob Malik will be on later and can give you specific details to that as he's serving on the board right now. I can speak as someone in the organization and as a member owner myself, which I am very proud to be. So my understanding is that we have about 1,100 member owners. We do accept member owners. You can still sign up at DetroitPeoplesFoodCoop.com. We're really excited because we're planning to start construction this year. So now is a great time to get involved, and definitely reach out to DetroitPeoplesFoodCoop.com, reach out to our outreach committee, and they can give you lots of detailed information on that.
Okay. And then with the farm, so now it's March. When do you really start to see things growing? When do you begin your season? And I know different vegetables and everything and herbs, they grow at different times of the year. So when can we expect your first batch of vegetables or herbs to grow? And then tell us what some of those are.
Yes. So this year we're actually doing something a little bit different. We usually like to start as early as possible to serve our community and get them fresh veggies. And this year we're actually starting to institute some cover cropping. So that means we're putting in crops into our soil that we won't use to eat, but it's actually meant to just feed the soil. So right now we're really in the process of feeding the soil first, giving back to the soil that feeds us. So we're going to have our harvest a little bit later than previous years. And so you can look out for some produce from us for around late May, early June. And we're going to have a relaunch of our online marketplace. It's going to be called Shop Detroit Farms. We're really excited about that. And look out for that. That should be around May or June that will be re-released, and we'll have a grand opening. So
let me ask you about that. Will that be, I can order my produce online and then it'll be ready just for pickup?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. So we're currently in a rebranding process. It's kind of coming soon, if you will, but definitely keep your eyes out. Follow us on Instagram. It's dtown_farm. And we'll keep you updated there. It's also a collaborative project, which we're really proud of, with Oakland Avenue Farm. And it's just really special to us. So it's kind of our baby right now. It's not totally ready for the world, but I love to share it. And the things that'll be on there coming up will be lettuce. Maybe we'll have some beets at that point, carrots, peas. And this year, I'm so excited because we're doing more flowers. I just love flowers so much. So already our tulips are popping up out of the ground. They haven't quite bloomed yet, but they're showing. So we're also expecting some flowers. So if you ever have flower needs, definitely check us out as well.
All right. So let's talk about the food. What do you find, especially come May? Well, let's go into June, like the first week of June. What are some of your most valued products that you have that's sought out by the community, like around that time in June? You know, that's when we're still getting excited about the weather breaking and everything. But I personally prefer to go to markets and purchase my food as well. So this is just great for me.
Yes, absolutely. So that's when you can really look for your more cold weather crops, right? You think about the things that we were able to plant as early as possible. That's around when they're going to be ready. So peas, carrots, beets, greens like lettuce, collards, kale, spinach even, and sometimes mustard greens. Yeah, so these things that
mustards and turnips, I'm there.
Yes, we could have some turnips this year. So really thinking about those things that like the cool weather. And it isn't until about later in July that we start getting those hot weather crops that we think about in terms of summer, like tomatoes and peppers and these kinds of awesome fruits, and beans. Those things come on a little bit later once you have consistent hot weather.
Do you do strawberries or any other like fruits like that?
Yes, so we currently don't do strawberries. We do have raspberries. Sometimes raspberries are delicious to eat, and I have a lot of respect for people who grow them on a large scale, right? They're a crop I'm still learning about, and they take a little bit of know-how and maintenance. So sometimes our crop is really big and flush, and sometimes it's a little smaller. So it depends on our weather and our standards of whether or not they're going to make it to market. But sometimes we do have raspberries. If you do get them, it's a special year. We also keep blackberries, blueberries, and we plant. Those are perennial, meaning that those stay on the farm. Those are staying in the ground and they come up year after year. And plants that we put in the ground annually are watermelons, are fruits that we're really excited about. Yeah, and those come on later in the year, more August-ish.
So let me ask you, for some people who are at home and they just want to just introduce themselves into being able to grow, a little mini garden, right? And they do the whole, when you create the whole planter box for your growing. And what are some things that are easier to start off with?
Yes.
Would it be greens? But greens, they really spread when they start to grow. Boy, but they're good though. I love them.
The knowing tone, I totally understand. First of all, if folks are starting to get involved in their garden, I just commend you. I'm so excited for you. It's such just a really joyful part of life. It can really like sustain you in more ways. Yes, in more ways than just the food, right? And that's what we say all the time at D-Town, is that it's about more than the food. Food is an entry point into these other conversations. And so when you have a garden, it's just like, it's so powerful. So I'm really excited if that's what you're doing. And plants that are more, what I recommend to beginner gardeners are plants that come up quickly, right? So when we talk about the difficulty, quote unquote, of growing plants, it requires patience, which is difficult. So if something says hard to grow, sometimes it's actually just the patience and waiting for that thing to pop up and knowing what it looks like when it does. So that's really important. And if something's considered difficult or easy to grow, it can be a little more forgiving in terms of it getting its needs, right? So if you get to water, sometimes certain crops can handle it a little bit better versus others may need water all the time. And if you forget them, they're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So things that I recommend would be like arugula. Those will start popping up within 7 days. You'll be like, I did it. And it feels really good. Arugula, radish, turnips. Those are actually all in the same plant family, but they'll pop up really quickly and give you a lot of satisfaction. Spinach also. And they're also forgiving because you can plant them really closely and they'll still grow. Sometimes you have to be aware of the spacing and thin them out. And so these plants you could kind of literally throw in your bed and they would pop up. And also lettuce, those kinds of greens that are a little smaller, the ones that you think of even getting as baby greens or in a salad mix, those are really generous as well.
And then, so for me, living in the city, we sometimes have intruders. So I have a Roger Rabbit that seems to think that he pays rent around there. So, they'll get right into your garden. And then I have some black squirrels, and boy, it's been a fight with them too. So what are some good ways to protect your garden? Is that where should you really sprinkle like the cayenne pepper or the hot peppers? Everybody has their theories about how to protect their garden.
Yes, so you can do those for sure. And my principle that I've developed over time is to protect the crop. So prevention, right? And so what that can look like is putting hoops of some kind. They can either be metal hoops or PVC hoops, and spreading a thin fabric over it. So you can get agricultural fabric for different purposes, which is really exciting. So if sometimes you're growing greens in the summer, they may not like direct sun. If you think about how thin they are, if they get hit, they can get really wilty and a little sad. So sometimes we put a special kind of cover over them that gives them more shade so that they can survive. And in the cold, there's some things that maybe they can't handle the frost, but they can handle the cold. And so we'll put essentially a blanket over them that keeps them a little bit warmer. And then if your issue is more squirrels or bigger bugs, there's this other kind of cloth that you can put on that has really thin holes. It's more like a net, and it helps to protect the crops. So having those hoops, which essentially looks like, we call them caterpillar tunnels. They have arches, and you can space them out along your bed. If your bed's smaller, sometimes you only need 2 on either end, and just laying a fabric over it and thinking about it as prevention and asking yourself, what does my plant need right now? And you can usually find a fabric that helps support that.
So would you suggest that right now is a good time for you to get started, to start feeding your soil with those things that you said, to start feeding your soil, and then maybe you don't know what March and the beginning of April is going to look like here in Michigan. You know, we might get another snowstorm. Please don't let that happen. But you just never know in the state of Michigan. So maybe start planting around, is April, the end of April too soon for some of those crops when we talk about spinach and greens and things of that nature?
Actually, that's a good time to start them. So we'll start our planting this year right after the spring equinox, which is this Saturday. And so that's actually the first day of spring is the 20th. And like I mentioned, some of those crops, they actually like the cold. So for example, collard greens and kale, if you plant them in the summer, they're good. We love them. They're great. But once they get a frost, they actually develop more sugars. And they do that as a response to protect them from actually freezing. So if you think about the frost level of water, it'll freeze and turn to ice at 32 degrees. And sugar actually has a much lower frost level. So it keeps it, like ice cream, for example, won't get super hard like ice because it has so much sugar in it. So the plant actually develops its own sugars to keep itself healthy in the cold, which is why those crops taste so much better once they've gotten a frost. So things like peas and collards and kale and spinach, they actually taste really good when we plant them in our spring, when we don't know if we have cold snaps coming. They're like, oh, this is great.
Now, what about like zucchini and squash? And I don't eat eggplant, but I always see that when I go to different community gardens. When's a good time to plant those?
Yeah, so those things really like the soil warm. And so you'll hear me oftentimes talk about the soil, and a lot of gardeners talk about the soil because that is what actually supports the life of the plant. So when you talk about seeding certain things directly in the soil, they all have a soil temperature that they prefer. You think about it, they're getting like wrapped up in this nice, nutritious blanket, and they need to be a good temperature for them. So zucchini, summer squash, eggplant, tomatoes, they all like it to be definitely over 55 degrees, and ideally into the 60s should be the soil temperature. And that's important because sometimes it can be warm, like in the past few days, you know, here it's been warmer, and you might think, oh, 50 degrees, my tomato would like it, but the soil is actually frozen. The soil's really cold. So you would put that tomato in there and it would be like, it's like, I can't handle it. And so you really want the soil to warm up. And so I like to err on the safer side. Our projected last frost date for Detroit is usually May 5th. And I'll usually wait around a week after that projected last frost date, because that's just based on previous years. I'll wait a week after that or so, still testing the soil until I plant a warm crop like zucchini or tomatoes outdoors. We grow indoors as well. So sometimes we can push those boundaries, which is why you may see some farmers where they have stuff and you're like, I haven't even put my tomato in the ground. How do you
Well,
have
how did you get this already? Yeah.
And so we have oftentimes more commercial scale indoor growing areas that maybe are covered with plastic, maybe two pieces of plastic. They might even have heat in them. And so that's also how we're able to get things like greenhouse tomatoes from Canada all winter, because they're actually pumping heat into the space. And so those are options that are available and most financially kind of useful at a commercial scale. And so that's how some farmers will have things a little early. But yeah, for your home garden, waiting until the soil is warm.
Now, let me ask you this. So I've seen some of your products from the farm. They'll be sold at, what is it, the Wayne State, where they have the whole food, I forgot, they call it something on Wednesdays. And then also on Livernois between Puritan and 6 Mile, that area kind of near Florence. So when will you start that? When will you start going out to the other community, the food days, and selling your product?
Yes, that is a great question. And I wish I had an answer for you, only because in our current state of the pandemic, it is difficult for us to, currently our policy is that we do not go to community farmers markets to keep our community members safe and to keep those who work at the farm safe. We're hoping to open up a farmer's stand, a physical one at the farm this year. But again, stay tuned on our Instagram, because we're trying to stay as mobile as possible and respond as need be to the pandemic. So it's really difficult for me to say, for sure, we'll be there this time. And though I wish I could, definitely just stay in tune with us. And our online marketplace will be definitely the most consistent way to get to us. And hopefully our on-farm marketplace.
So are you thinking there is a chance, if things don't go in the direction that we're all hoping that they go in, what would be, outside of online, what would be the best option in order to access the farm once you first start, so no, let's back up. Typically, when do you open up if it wasn't a pandemic? When would you open up for the public to come to the farm?
Yes, so we open usually around April. This year, we actually do accept volunteers, so it's really exciting. Our first volunteer day will be March 27th. Our open volunteer hours are Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And usually those are open. We love when people come in, and due to the pandemic, we ask that folks go onto our Instagram. There we have a link where you can sign up for our COVID protocols and our pre-screening questions. So again, it's at dtown_farm. And there's a link in our bio where you can go down and you'll be able to see our COVID protocol. And there you'll submit those things and you get invited to come out, so that we make sure that we have still safe numbers at the farm. But looking out, starting from the 27th, every Saturday and Sunday until around November, the end of November, we accept volunteers. So you are definitely encourage folks to come out if you sign up and do our COVID protocols, and we can still see each other and work the land together in a really safe way.
And it's a great way for people also to learn. I mean, you guys have so much space over there, right? But you can kind of learn, oh, okay, I might want to try this at home, or, try something new, or you might be your first time a gardener, actually growing and creating a garden. And I think coming to volunteer is a great opportunity to be able to learn, but also to give back to the community. So what I'm hearing is, because of the pandemic, we'll kind of take it on a probably day-by-day basis to see how things are changing. And just say, if the floodgates don't open up, which they probably won't, then that would look like, do you then limit the number of customers that you allow to come to the farm on a daily basis? Or
Yes.
Tell me what that is. So it would mean that you wouldn't go to other farmer markets, but as far as, the community coming to your farm, what does that mean for you? How do you navigate through these protocols of the pandemic?
Yes, that is an incredible question that we chew on daily. And where we're at right now is we're actually restructuring our COVID policy so that it reflects the state where we're in now. And that looks like asking folks who want to come out to sign a COVID waiver, which says that they'll adhere to our protocol, that they know what it is, which is that we ask folks to wear a mask, bring gloves if they can, and we remain at a physical distance of 6 feet apart from each other. Sometimes it looks like a staff member might say, hey, there's too many people here, and can we go over here? And we have a total limit of 40 people on the farm. And so if you think about 7-acre space, it's not so many people, but still often we like to work together. And so we actually even have limits within our growing areas. So if you've ever been to D-Town, or when you come, you'll see that one of the ways that we have addressed our pest issues, which because we're in a lot of wooded areas, we have groundhogs and deer and all types of things.
Everything over there.
Everything. Squirrels, rabbits. So we have these fenced in areas. And that in those areas, we have limitations of up to 6 to 10 people. We're actually in this process of rewriting that, but there are limits in that. And that's the way that we're managing. And we're also, I guess, part of the way we responded is really leaning into our online sales. And so that looks like kind of contactless purchasing. You purchase online, we have your name written on your box. You just come and go. And so that's also a way that we've responded. And I will say something I didn't mention earlier in terms of gardeners who are getting started. Last season, we got so excited about folks growing their own food due to the pandemic, and just really addressing this issue of food security and getting folks in our community resilient and self-reliant. And so we actually produced a series of growing tutorials online. So if you go to the DBCFSN YouTube page, or even through our Instagram, we have a link there. And you'll actually see me on many of them. We did videos that start asking questions of where do I do my garden? What do I plant? When do I plant it? Can I grow inside or outside? And we walk you through the process through these videos, all the way through planting, harvesting, and saving seed. So if you want more information and would like to learn it from D-Town, those videos are also available online.
And that's DBSFSN?
DBCFSN. And that's our YouTube page. It stands for the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network. And those videos are also accessible through our Instagram, clicking the link in our bio. Well, the first button there on our link tree is our community growing tutorials.
Let's talk about the herbs before you leave. We kind of talked about the fruits and the vegetables. So the herbs, when do you start really introducing those into the farm, and they're kind of ready for sale? Tell us about a few of them.
Yes. So those will come up also probably late May, June. My brain kind of calculates because we have different plantings.
Yeah.
We have parsley, cilantro. We're hoping to have more thyme and oregano. We planted them in the fall, so we're hoping that
thyme can be hard to find sometimes. You know what I mean? So that would be great.
And fresh thyme is I love cooking too, so it's so hard to replace. When you want fresh, really fresh thyme and oregano, that's what you want.
It offers a totally different taste to your palate. You can taste the freshness, especially fresh herbs. It is totally different than buying something that has been dried and processed in a jar. I totally agree with you 100%. Yes. I love fresh peppers too in my food. I love fresh peppers.
Yes, I'm so excited about the pepper varieties we'll have this year. We're going to do some Scotch bonnets even, which is a community favorite. They're Jamaican Scotch bonnets particularly that we're growing. They're very, very hot, for folks
Well,
who
I'm gonna
know
try them if
very
they're
well.
really hot. Then I'm gonna try that.
But we like to grow food that is relevant to our community. So Jamaican Scotch bonnets, or particularly African American save seed. Horace Pippin, who's an artist, he was known as a seed saver, and so we're actually growing some of his peppers this year. And yeah, just saving stories of the Black experience in this space on
That
this
is
land,
awesome.
and planting those foods so that we can continue our traditions as well.
So with the herbs, now are those mostly grown in the space where you have like 6 to 10 people, over there in that other, corner? I'm trying to make sure I depict it correctly, but I mean, I've been there, so in my mind, I can see where they are. So those are usually, they're in their own little separate corner for the herbs. And then will you have, let's talk about like, how do you buy them? You buy them in like the little square of the tray. Is that how you sell those individually?
The way that we like to sell herbs is bunched. So if you think about when you go to the grocery store and you get a thing of parsley or cilantro or even dill, which we'll have this season, we have them in little bunches. And if our time makes it, and I hope that we'll be able to get time, that's one of the ones that we're kind of like waiting for. If that one comes back, it would also be in bunches. We're really trying to be as sustainable as possible with our packaging options. So limiting the plastic that we use, using more compostable packaging options as well. So when you go to the store and you think about the baby greens that are in plastic, the berries in plastic, all these things, we're trying to think about ways we can be more sustainable for ourselves and the planet. Which is one and the same, really, that relationship, trying to honor that by using things that can go back into the soil.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Naomi, for coming on. I learned a lot today, and I'm going to go on to YouTube and watch some of your videos, definitely. And I'll be waiting for you guys to open up. And so one last time, tell everyone about the website so they can make sure that they keep up with what's going on, whether or not you get the online option going, but when to take a look to see when you guys will open up during the pandemic.
Our most up-to-date space right now is our Instagram, which is at dtown_farm. And there you'll see some pictures. You can follow us, and we post events happening for our farm and with other communities that we support. And there we have links in our bio, which is right under the name and our photo. You can click there. It'll say Linktree. And there we have all these links of a lot of things that I talked about, including our parent organization, dbcfsn.org. And lots of other resources to check out, including our videos.
Well, thank you again. Wealth of knowledge. You're very knowledgeable about the work that you do, and that's always a great thing, and to share that information. Thank you so much. You have a great day. We appreciate you and all of the work that you're doing in the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, up next, we will bring on Brother Maliki Kini he will talk about the food co-op associated with D-Town Farms. And he'll give us an update on what's going on with the co-op and how you could get involved if you didn't get your membership last time. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Sister Nicole. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, wonderful. But Sister Naomi just gave us a wealth of knowledge about the farm, about growing a garden,
Sister Naomi,
herbs and everything.
Naomi is so dope and so knowledgeable. I don't know how in her short years on this planet she has acquired so much knowledge and wisdom. She's an incredible human being.
You know, she reminds me of like that older, more seasoned lady from the South, or came from the South and just like, so protective of the garden and can grow anything with a green thumb. So I agree. You look at her, you like, how do you know all of this? It's like somebody must have started her at the age of 2 or something, but she's very knowledgeable.
There's this theory about indigo babies, that there's young people being born now who are born with a consciousness that is just more expansive than the consciousness of older people. And so we have so much to learn from young people. which is one of the reasons we need this like intergenerational interaction within our communities. The older people have wisdom and experience to share with younger people, and younger people have some insight and a way of looking at the world that can benefit older people as well.
I agree. We can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
And when we bridge that generational gap, we would be so surprised at the outcomes, right? How we're better, not just as individuals, but as a community. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. So talk to me. Tell me about the food co-op. What's going on? We talked about it a few months ago. And what are you guys? Where are you at now?
Okay, so you just talked to Naomi about D-Town Farm, which is a project of the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network. But also for the last 10 years, we've been working on another project, which is called the Detroit People's Food Co-op. You know, Nicole, and I'm sure most of the listeners and viewers know, although Detroit has almost 700,000 people, maybe 675,000 people, 80% of whom are Black, there's not one Black-owned grocery store in the city of Detroit. As my sister Joanne Watson says, it's a shame. I'm not gonna say exactly what she says, but it's a ridiculous situation where we have millions of dollars just being funneled out of our community and extracted to make other people wealthy. Whereas if we could keep even a small percentage of that money and circulate it within our community, we can have the wealth that we need to build the institutions needed to teach our history, to teach our culture, to organize people around greater self-determination in our community. So we're very concerned about not only our community having access to high quality food, but we're concerned about the economics of food. And, we hear a lot about Buy Black campaigns, which we're totally in support of. But we think that if we're talking about a Buy Black campaign, if food is not part of the foundation of that, then it's missing something. Because food is something that we all eat every day for the most part. I'm not eating today, I'm fasting. Maybe I'll talk about that later. But other than that, most of us are eating 2-3 times a day. And so we're constantly buying food. And so there's a tremendous amount of money being spent in Detroit on food. It's just being extracted from our community. And so a co-op is a way of taking that wealth that we have, capturing it, and circulating it within the community. And so that's what we're doing. The Detroit People's Food Co-op is a full-service grocery store that is coming into being. And we're expecting construction to start on the building. And the building that we're building, by the way, is called the Detroit Food Commons. So we're building this larger building, 2-story building, the main tenant of which will be the Detroit People's Food Co-op, this cooperative grocery store. So we expect construction to begin on the building sometime between next month and August. And there's still a lot of details we're working on in terms of city permits. There's still a few financing issues we're working through things with the architects. But we're expecting to begin construction on this building very soon. It's going to take 9 to 12 months. And, construction depends on weather conditions and a number of other things. By spring or summer of next year, the Detroit People's Food Co-op will be open. So it's being built on the southeast corner of Woodward and Euclid.
Okay.
I'm going to pause. Look like you want to ask a question.
No, I'm excited. I didn't know we were this close to you actually, the development.
Yeah, we're close. We're very close. We're very close to this happening. So I'm not going to go into all of the details right now, but I'll just say we've gotten about $5 million in funding in the last 6 months. And some of this will be announced in the next couple of weeks. But several of the major foundations in Detroit have come to the table to put in funding so that we can build this building. And also what we're able to do is equip it using a lot of the grant funds and loans that we're getting so that the co-op can start with no debt. So the co-op doesn't have to buy its own like refrigeration systems and all that. We're including that. It's like turnkey ready. Co-op can walk in and start without debt. And that's
real ownership. That's real ownership right there.
That debt, saddles a lot of businesses. And so we want to make sure the co-op has the opportunity to be off to a very healthy start. So currently we have 1,159 what we call member owners. And let me explain in detail what a co-op is and kind of some of the history of that for folks who may not be aware. So a co-op is a business that is collectively owned by a number of individuals. And the difference between a co-op and a corporation is in a corporation, if you have a lot of money, you can buy a lot of shares. Let's say if a share costs $100 and you buy 100 shares, then you have 100 votes. Whereas somebody else only has a little money and they buy one share, they only get one vote. So in a corporate structure, those with the most money rule it. And for the most part, most of us, I mean, I don't own any stock, and most of my friends that I know of don't own stock. We're not even in that world. Most of us trying to figure out how to pay the light bill,
Right. That's the reality.
That's a reality. We're trying to figure out how we gonna make it this week, next week. How do I get insurance for my car? All these kind of issues, right? And so, but there's other folks who are on a whole nother level who have so much wealth that they're buying, thousands and thousands of shares of stock. And so it's totally imbalanced. And it's one of the characteristics of capitalism that those who have wealth concentrated in their hands, who are not coincidentally usually wealthy white men, and sometimes white women as well, but usually almost always white people, because white supremacy and capitalism intersect. And so in a system like that, the people with the money have all the control. In a co-op, you can only buy one share. Everybody has one share. Everybody has one vote. It's totally horizontal. It's flat. Everybody is equal. There's no big I's, little me's, none of that. Everybody gets one vote. And so we think that structure is very important. That cooperative structure where we're owning things collectively is a superior business model to many of the things that we see rolling out in the Black community. So we're not against individually owned businesses, that's fine too. But this cooperative model is a chance for us all to rise, as opposed to just one or two business owners who might do well and then have the money to send their children to college and buy nice cars and things like. We're concerned about our whole community rising. So a co-op provides the opportunity for that. And interestingly, this has been a tactic that has been used since slavery ended in this country by Black people to gain power within our communities, within the context of an economic system which is hell-bent on keeping us out of the mainstream economy. So, in fact, interestingly, in the late 1800s, I think 1896 or so, there was a grocery store called the People's Grocery in Memphis. Our store is called Detroit People's Food Co-op. So very similar names. But in the late 1800s, 1896 or so, in Memphis, the owners of this grocery store were arrested on some trumped up charges, and a mob, took them from the police, as has been done many times, and they were lynched. And so Ida B. Wells, the great writer and anti-lynching crusader, really started her crusade against lynching as a result of these three Black men who were owners of the People's Grocery, a cooperative market in Memphis. That's why she started her anti-lynching crusade. So since at least that time, Black people have been using co-ops as a way of collectively owning and building our power within a white supremacist economic system. And so that's still what we're doing. We're continuing this path that's been laid down for us by our ancestors, and we're rolling out a model for the city of Detroit. So this particular co-op, the Detroit People's Food Co-op, you can become a member owner by paying a one-time $200 fee. And by becoming a member owner, you get a few benefits. The first thing you get to do is you get to either run for, nominate other people for, and vote for the board of directors. And so the board of directors is the legal body that governs the co-op. And so that's how member owners have their voice. In fact, we have a meeting coming up this Saturday, our annual meeting, where we have an election for board members. And so these 1,159 members will be able to vote for who they want for the vacancies. All the seats are not open, but there's 2 vacancies. So they'll be able to vote for candidates to fill those 2 vacancies. And so that way, the voice of the member owners is heard. But also, there'll be periodic discounts at the register for member owners. So the general community will pay one price and member owners will get a discount on certain items periodically.
I love it.
The third thing, which is important, is that at the end of the year, in any year the store is profitable, and realistically, most businesses take at least 5 years or so to become.
That's right, to really start generating a profit, right?
That's right. But once the store becomes profitable, at the end of the year, the member owners can vote themselves a share of those profits, or they can vote to put the money back in the store, or they can vote to donate the money to a community cause, but they are actually owners of the business. It's not like Sam's Club where you pay a fee and that fee allows you to go spend your money with some white people, right?
Yeah.
That's not what this is. In Sam's Club, you don't have any say-so in anything.
No, you don't have any stock, any ownership of the actual business. No, this is we need, and I said this to you before, these are the conversations that we need to be having with the younger generation too. And when I say younger, if you had a child in middle school, I don't care if it's in elementary school, you need to start bringing them into this to understand it. So when they are of age, this is the way that they can reinvest into themselves, into their community. This is about a way of thinking, right? Yeah. And we don't always get this in our community. This is how you build generational wealth. You know what? You own your own stuff. Okay, first and foremost, you pay into what's yours. You invest into your own community. This is the way that you do it. Everyone else does it. And for some reason, we're so slow to move, to build together, right? And this is a great opportunity. Like you said, everybody eats. Everybody eats. You buying your groceries from somewhere, right? Why not buy from your own and be able to own a part of it?
Yes. So
this is the way we should be thinking.
I see a question coming across from my good sister, Tamari Kimmett, and she asked, how do we keep whites from taking over? And that's a very good question.
Well, Tamari's serious about that, okay? She is serious.
Yeah, that's my sister. Me and her go way back. We got a lot of but it's a very good question. And I want to kind of put out a call right now to the Black community. And we're not framing this as like we're against white people. That's not what this is about.
No, you just for Black people and Black ownership. That's all.
And to be absolutely clear, I mean, this is a legal business, and so it's open to whoever wants to join. And there are white people who are members of the Detroit People's Food Co-op. There's people of various ethnicities who are members of the co-op. So what we're saying is we want to make sure this co-op is Black-led, although there are white members. Now, just on a practical business sense, one of the ways of building the Black economy is that you want to get money from other communities into our community. So my good brother Kwame Kenyatta, who used to be on Detroit City Council, and I want to hail him up. Today is his birthday, March 15th. He was born March 1996. He passed in May of 2019. But one of the things that my good brother taught me is that every nation has its domestic economic policy and it has its foreign economic policy. And so every nation is trying to develop relationships with other nations so they get trade from that nation. They get the wealth of that nation to come into their nation. That's one of the China and the United States are having friction now because of the trade imbalance. And so similarly, not only do we want to make sure that we have practices inside of our community that are promoting cooperative economics, but we want to have strategies to get money from other communities into our community. And so we want, whoever, people from the suburbs to shop at the Detroit People's Food Co-op, because the more customers we have, the better. But to get back to Tamari Kimmett's question, now within the context of this open co-op where anybody can join, it's imperative that Black people organize so that we are always the majority and so that we are always in control.
Hold on, brother. Let me correct you. No, that we're always the super majority. There's a difference. And we need to start thinking that way, that we're the super majority, not just the majority where they might be 49 and we 51%. We need to make sure that we're the super majority. And that's why it's important that they understand that this is an opportunity to invest in your own. These stimulus checks are coming out. So before you go buy a pair of Jordans, why don't you invest into this co-op? Especially the people with children. Like, this is just something that we should do. This is, if you can do it, and I know that you said before that there was you could put so much money down and pay over a period of time. There are some options for that. People need to understand, forget just being the majority, because that could be a difference of 1%. We need to make sure we're the super majority.
I'm with
and
that.
things like this. If you want to sustain Black ownership and not having not just white people, be clear. It's other races that's coming to take over in this city right now, because it seems to be open season in the city of Detroit. So we need to be the super majority. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm with that. I'm totally with that. So the thing is, you know, there's a lot of white people. Let's say maybe they went to University of Michigan, or they went to Michigan State, or they went to Western Michigan University, where in all these towns they have food co-ops, and so they might be familiar with the concept of a food co-op, and they're eager to join. On the other hand, in the Black community, where in recent history we haven't seen this history of co-ops, and people are a little bit more skeptical and getting on board slow, and some people been.
You know why they skeptical? You know why they skeptical?
Yes, I do know why.
Because it's you who's saying it. If you let one of those white people who went to U of M or whatever, if they were leading it, then they'd be jumping all over it. And that's the reality of it too. That's a whole nother conversation. But we need to start appreciating when one of our own brings these opportunities to the table.
Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics, you know, that are related to our internalized self-hatred and our disrespect of Black leadership. There's a lot of factors in this. But so you got a lot of white people who maybe went to college in towns where there are food co-ops, they're familiar with it. And then you got a Black community that in recent history has not really seen this history of food and is not familiar with food co-ops. And so it's a harder sell. And then you have the general skepticism that exists in the Black community towards any self-help effort. And so, you know, we have, because of history, you know, we have some thinking, well, they go steal the money. And, you know, we're always skeptical about ourselves. And so we need Black folks to jump on board in huge numbers and really support this effort. And it's a model nationally. Black people throughout the country are looking at this. In fact, we meet with about 20 different Black food cooperators throughout the country where we are sharing our lessons. All of us are sharing lessons. But the Detroit People's Food Co-op is one of the ones in the forefront that people around the country are looking at. And so we're creating a model, not just for Detroit, but we're creating a model of how cooperative economics can work in Black communities throughout the United States and throughout the world. So if people want to join and become member owners of the Detroit People's Food Co-op, and I'm putting out a call right now to the Black community. If you want to be a member owner of the the Detroit People's Food Co-op, you can join by going to our website, which is www.detroitpeoplesfoodcoop.com. Again, that's www.detroitpeoplesfoodcoop.com. So, you know, we have a lot of talk in our community, and a lot of people, you know, they don't really do anything. They just talk about our condition, analyze our condition. This is a chance to get involved in something concrete. If people want to go beyond the rhetoric, beyond the discussion, and actually build, you know, a lot of times in the community, we hear young folks say, yeah, let's build, you know, meaning they want to have a conversation, let's talk. But we're doing real building, right? Bricks on the ground, you know, actually creating an institution. And so we invite people, we encourage people to move beyond discussion of Black self-determination and practice it with us.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Brother Malik, so much for bringing this information to us today. I am definitely going to continue to share it. I highly suggest for some of these people, I mean, they're going to be getting, by the time it's all said and done, a lump sum of close to $6,000-$10,000. You strongly consider investing into this opportunity. That's the best thing to do. We will have you back on the show, because I want us to continue this conversation about investing into ourselves and investing into our own community. And maybe we could delve a little bit deeper into why we don't trust each other, but we're so willing to trust others without so much resistance. I think that'd be a great conversation for you and I to have. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Anytime you want me back, I'll be here.
All right. Have a great day.
Peace.
Bye. Peace. All right, up next, we are going to have Sister Christine Smith come on and talk to us about different herbs that you can use to build your immune system, and also the best ways to actually detox your body. You know, I know some of you want to just think that if you blend up some spinach or some kale with some water, that's the only way to detox. But we're going to delve a little bit deeper beyond the surface to what real detoxing is, and getting rid of these toxins in our body. Good morning. How are you?
Grand Rising, sister. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today and being willing to share your knowledge. This is a conversation we definitely need to have, especially in our own community. So let's start off talking about some different ways to build your immune system and what that looks like.
Okay, well, just from my observation on social media and so forth, and then going to a lot of the outlets or the stores and so forth, I listen to people who have conversations about detoxing, and I think the understanding is to build immunity. They think that they go through this a big detoxing spell, or detoxing is just for a small increment of time. I'm going to detox for 3 days or 7 days or 21 days. When in actuality, our body should be in a consistent or perpetual detoxing state. And how we do that is, well, first of all, I probably should explain something about the lymph system. The lymph system is a secondary or a second system of liquids in our bodies, other than blood and plasma. The lymph system is kind of like a sewer system or cleansing sewer system that is constantly flowing toxins out of our bodies. And I guess you could say it eliminates disease-causing inflammation. You know, and inflammation is kind of the basis of most diseases, just like an acid environment. And I know that people that are purchasing alkaline waters and so forth, but what good is drinking alkaline water? But not cleansing the body. You can bring the body to an alkaline state, but it has to be a sense of balance. While you're cleansing, you're also building, affording the body an opportunity to build its immunity. So you incorporate both detoxing or adaptogenic herbs in addition to the immune building herbs. And that's another point I also wanted to make for the African American or the indigenous physiology. It's not so much the vitamins that are important as it is the minerals, because our bodies, just like the earth, is based on minerals. So you keep your body mineralized, you keep your body alkalized, and you keep your body in a perpetual detox state. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the herbs that I recommend mostly for detoxing would be kind of the antitoxin herbs, such as like blue cohosh. I don't hear enough people incorporating that outside of the conversation of menopause or hormone balancing, so forth. But like black cohosh is a detoxifier also. You got black walnut also. If you're wanting to eliminate parasites out of the body, you can drink a black walnut tea, or you can take in incorporate that in your smoothies and so forth. And I think we talked briefly about green drinks, and I've been seeing a lot of people that are including other things in their green drinks. But if you were to start yourself on a regimen and you say, you know what, I want to get my body in a detoxifying mode, I want to get my body in an immune building mode. In building the immune system, you're also building the blood. And one of the simplest ways to do that is to begin your day with a green drink. A simple green drink would include distilled water or alkaline water, a dark green leafy vegetable like kale or spinach or romaine or whichever that you like, a lemon, and a celery. You don't throw apples in it. You don't put, bananas in it or anything like that. Just basic green drink, because as I mentioned to you before yesterday, is chlorophyll has a similar composition as plasma. To renew plasma in the body, you can use that chlorophyll to build, the plasma in the body. In addition to that, now you're getting your blood clean, you're detoxifying or adaptogenic herbs. And also to explain what an adaptogenic herbs are, and which a lot of times most of them are, is that you might take a herb for one specific thing or one specific reason, excuse me, but an adaptogen will start to address and start to heal those things that are most, it'll go to the system or the problem that is most needed first and build its way up to whatever it's needed least. So if you take like a black cohosh and you say, or sea moss, sea moss is very
popular now anyway. Yeah.
Right. Sea moss is very popular now, but sea moss is not just for building immunity. It's also a lymphatic cleanser. A lot of people don't know that. That's also when you take your herbs, or when you're taking herbs, and I'm going to offer some suggestions.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, I want to make sure we're clear. So say you take a green drink every morning, right? Yes. Yes. Would it be best to incorporate the sea moss into that green drink in the morning?
Yes, you could do that. You could do that. In addition to blood cleansing, you're also immunity building. You're also addressing other issues in terms of detoxifying the body. So I would incorporate sea moss if that's what were my routine. I'm a pure green drinker. You know what I'm saying? So I don't include a lot of other things in my green drink. I keep it pretty simple in that regard.
So when you talk about the black, you said the walnut. What was it? Was it the black walnut? Tell me the name of that herb.
It's just it's actually black walnut. That's it.
Okay. So
wait a minute. As a matter of fact, wait a minute. I got some. I didn't want to start pulling things out of the cabinet.
That's all right. Show us what it looked like.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. I got a little bit of this left. I had a sister, one of my fellow queens, Ebony. Might have been Lisa that brought me these black wall. As you can see, it's just a regular tea. I got some left in here. It's just a regular tea.
Something that you could take every day? Because see, that's another thing. Some of the herbs, I don't know, should we only be taking them for 3, 5, 7 days? Is this something that we could take every day, the black walnut?
No, I wouldn't take it every day, but let's say if you have an issue a physical or health issue that may be caused by parasitic conditions and so forth, and you want to get rid of it, I would do it for maybe 7 days and then stop. The same thing for like, if you were doing bowel cleansing, and that's another thing too. I don't think people realize how important it is. And I'm not trying to gross anybody out. It is so important.
Let's have that conversation though about cleaning your body, because that's another way to get some toxins out of your body too.
Absolutely.
What would you suggest for that?
Well, if you're, let's say if you're real sensitive to laxatives and so forth, you could go with something really mild like turkey rhubarb, asenna, and chia seeds. Chia seeds are the easiest, least uncomfortable way to cleanse the lower intestines or the lower colon. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't cramp or anything. It helps to cleanse the walls of the intestines or the lower intestines and kind of pull the waste out. And I don't
and you can put that in your green drink. I know I have before.
You can put it in your green drink. You can put it on a salad. You can put it in if you eat yogurt, you can put it in yogurt. You can make actually puddings and desserts out of it if you're using natural low calorie sweeteners. You can do just about anything with. Excuse me, I'm trying to make myself comfortable. You can chia seeds. Also, let me see, I'm trying to think. Well, hold on one second. For a mild laxative. Now, me, myself, because I like to do a good cleansing, I take Cascara Sagrada. That is not necessarily a laxative, but it feeds the muscles that cause the peristaltic action of the lower intestines, and it kind of forces the muscles in your lower colon to push and to act or behave in the way that they're supposed to. So I take Cascara Sagrada maybe 3 days out of the month, or if I'm feeling stuffy or if I'm not eating on point, I might take it once a week or something like that. And it doesn't hurt, it doesn't cramp, it won't kill you. You know, like when you take those laxatives and so forth, it kind of
get all of that cramping and everything.
Right, because it's unnatural. You know what I'm saying? If you're taking anything that compels the body in an unnatural manner, you'll feel the effects of it. So if you take those cleansers that are allowing the body or compelling the body to behave in a way that happens naturally, you'll get less discomfort and less embarrassing times where you might be out and then you have to leave immediately or whatever like that. You want it to occur naturally. That has a lot to do with diet also, but I'm not one to talk about diet right now. But if your body is operating at its optimal health level, you won't experience those times of constipation. You also, when the body is clean, you'll find yourself having less headaches, you know, chest pains or whatever when you're walking. You can walk miles and miles and you won't feel as tired because the body is not taking such a toll as being burdened with toxins and so forth. And also, since we're living in the time of COVID and viral activities are so high at this time, I also wanted to invoke, and this is not just opinion, this is basic biology or whatever. Your body is different from my body, that is different from someone else's body. So to keep the body's immunity up will lessen the chance or lessen your body to be a host for a virus. And you know, every virus is different. Every virus that goes from one person to another is going to be different because the viruses pick up DNA from each individual. So my manifestation of a viral outbreak will be different from yours, will be different from hers, will be different from his. It's never going to be the same for no two individuals. So rather than to concern ourselves with other modalities, we should probably be best served is to build our own natural immunities, if that makes any sense. So I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. Did you have, I'm sorry, please ask me.
No, listen, I have a question. So a lot of times, this is just, you know, what I often hear in our community when we talk about detoxing. Usually it's to jumpstart a weight loss regimen or whatever. Yes. But I want to talk about detoxing like of the liver, and then I want to kind of talk about what's best for, you know, keeping your kidneys up to optimum levels. So we talked about a little bit about detoxing the lymphatic system. So what do you think is good when people hear detoxing the liver? Tell us a little bit about the benefits of that and what would you do for a regimen for that?
Okay, for liver detoxing, and as you know, just so that we're clear, we know that the liver is the filter that filters the blood. We know that the liver, it contends with a lot. We are constantly battling our liver in the things that we take into our body, the alcohol, or if you smoke, or if you are eating or drinking bad foods and so forth. So the liver actually is, I would think, next to maybe the heart or kidneys, one of the hardest working organs in the body. Now, to build the liver, just to keep it simple, you know that dandelion root, one of the simplest, most common things that we see, especially in the springtime. Everybody's killing all the dandelions. I pull my dandelions up. I clean the roots. I put them in my dehydrator. I put them in a blender, powder them down, and I put it also in my smoothies, or even in my drinks. You know, my juice drinks and so forth. Dandelion is one of the easiest and least difficult things to find. You also have milk thistle. Let's see, milk thistle. Let's see, celandine. It stimulates the enzyme production that helps to break down the particles or toxic particles. It also relieves the gallbladder and a sluggish liver. Celandine, peppermint, turmeric, yellow dock. Yellow dock is one of my favorites. Also, when I first started going to school for herbalism at the Michigan Institute of Natural Health, I began on I think a seven-day detox, and 3 of the things that I started with were yellow dock, beetroot, dandelion root. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, Cascara sagrada, and I start every day with the green drink. Now, excuse me one moment. Excuse me, could you keep it down just a little bit? Yeah, so that liver and kidney, of course, also is very important.
Before we go to the kidney, let me ask you this. How often would you suggest that we detox our liver? Should this be a once a month type of regimen? Or do you think just if you're starting to have the effects of feeling sluggish and things of that nature?
Yes, I would recommend that, because it's difficult once you get on these kind of routines, and you don't want to overdo it. And also keep in mind, herbalism is a modality that is not necessarily, FDA or whatever, but you know your body better than anyone. You know your body. And the one thing that you are less likely to do is to overdo or get sick. But if you feel the body, you feel your body, like you said, getting sluggish, or you having trouble getting up in the morning when normally you just jump up and get it moving or something like that. Or if you are going more than a day without having a bowel movement, if you're not urinating frequently or adequately, then you know that the system is sluggish, the system is down. I should do some things, or I should incorporate some herbs or some other modalities that may help encourage detoxification, elimination, and immune building.
Can we talk about, so the different colors of your urine? Should your urine be like a pale yellow, clear? If it's really dark, what are some of the things that you should be concerned about? First and foremost, I want to say you should always go to your doctor. I'm not telling you, but I think that sometimes, especially for those people who don't go to the doctor, there are certain signs that they may not be aware of that would tell them that, something is going on in your body. So when we talk about the different colors of urine, what are some of the things that we should be looking for?
Well, anytime you have anytime you're, elimination, your urine is a dark yellow or very smelly, you know that there's number one, you need to hydrate. Anytime you have dark urine, or urine that has a strong smell to it, that's letting you know that the body is going into a dehydrated state, that you should increase your water, whether it be alkaline water or distilled water. I'm a distilled water advocate, myself.
I like distilled water as well.
Right. And the reason I say that is because distilled water, or water in itself, is not meant to nourish the body. It's the whole purpose of us taking in water is to rinse the body, to cleanse the body. Now, if you're an alkaline water advocate, I love alkaline water, and occasionally I buy a gallon or 2 and I'll sip it until it's gone, but no more than that. I don't drink alkaline water all day. Now, another thing is that if your urine is is dark or too light. You know, if it's too light, or you might find that your kidneys and bladder may be overworked. So you can drink too much water as much as you drink not enough water, as much as you don't drink enough water. So it's good to drink water. I can't determine what is an adequate amount of water for each individual, because, you know, you're supposed to drink so many ounces of water per a pound in your body. So I can't suggest what is good for another person. I know that me, myself, I try to drink maybe a quarter to a day at best, because I'm not a big water drinker, although I do drink water. So if you're feeling, or if you are, let's say your kidneys or your bladder are being overworked or not hydrated enough, you drink your water, you take your organ supporting herbs, and for your, I wrote some things down yesterday so that that we could address some of these things.
I think kidney disease is that's a issue in our community too. So yeah, let's talk about some of those organ supporting herbs that would be great for us to intake.
Okay, yeah, I tried to be prepared when you said that you wanted me to come on, so I wrote down some things. Okay, now the kidney supporting herbs would also be supportive of other organs as well.
And how long have you been practicing being in herbalism? When did you go to school for this? And
well, I got my certificate in 2014.
Okay.
But prior to that, I had some lifestyle changes that I had to make. I was at one point in my life, I was 330 pounds.
Wow.
I had a stroke when I was 32. And in 2008, I discovered I had high blood pressure, I had high cholesterol, and I was borderline diabetic. So I had to make some changes. And what I started doing is I started doing it not based on diet so much as incorporating more healthy lifestyle changes. And I found that the drugs or the prescriptions that the doctors were giving me to address my health issues, they would solve one thing, but they were causing other problems. My body is really highly sensitive to chemicals. So my blood pressure would go down, but I would get dizzy and almost pass out. Or the diabetes medication, if I'm borderline diabetic, why not? I kept thinking, why not suggest what I could do to keep me from having to take the drugs? So I started doing some things on my own. But since 2008, I've lost about 172 pounds. I kind of waver between 150 and 172 pounds in terms of weight loss. But right now,
congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. That is a huge accomplishment. And you kept that weight off. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it took a toll on my body. And that's one thing I would like to advocate for those people that those individuals that say that, well, it's okay to carry a certain amount of body weight, but be aware that it's going to take a toll on your body. Even if you simply start incorporating a healthier lifestyle in terms of what you eat and how you eat and how much you eat and how much you move and so forth, you can resolve a lot of things. But be aware that being in an unhealthy state, whether it be overweight or underweight, it's going to take a toll on your body, which your body doesn't get in one way. It's going to take from something else to kind of support whatever it is that you're not addressing. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense. And I think people need to also realize too, with a certain amount of body, you start overworking your organs. I mean, your heart, number one, you know what I mean? Your arteries and things of that nature.
And your joints, when you realize how much pounds per you know, per pound, how much, what do you call it? Pounds per ounce or pounds per inch or whatever. You're taking the toll on your hips, on your knees, on your ankles, on the bones in your, all of that is going to have a result. And I'm not saying that it's that everybody should be the same size. I would never say that. I would be a
No,
hypocrite to
we're
say that.
talking about a healthy lifestyle, and we're talking about the tolerance of our body, right? So it's
That's
only
right.
so much your body will tolerate before it starts responding in another way. And those are just the facts. So it's definitely not about people fitting into this whole society's image of what it is to be skinny, fit, or whatever. We're just talking about your body's tolerance level before it starts again responding in a negative way. And whether it's just um the little alerts that you're getting from your body, or whether it ends up being something major, like you said, like having a stroke or something like that.
Absolutely. But that's actually, that's how I got into, or how I became really focused on herbs. Like I said, my body's really sensitive to chemicals. That's another reason why I can't vaccinate. I've had that conversation with my doctor. I'm allergic to penicillin. I'm allergic to latex. I'm allergic to sulfa drugs. I'm what you call it? I'm allergic to egg protein. So literally, if I was to take a vaccine that, and most, as you know, most vaccines are developed based on injection into eggs. If I were to take a egg protein based vaccine, I would go into an allergic reaction that would require hospitalization.
They can hear you when I come up from you when I have to say.
I know. I'm sorry. Put your headphones on, babe. I'm sorry. Put your
That's
headphones
okay. This is real life.
But
Listen, tell them it's almost over anyway. We only have a few minutes
okay,
left.
tell me more. Granny will be done in a moment. Oh, this is my grandson. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I wanted to.
He said they can hear you online. Okay.
But I wanted to encourage about, if you're having urinary problems, if you're looking for herbs or seeking herbs to support the kidney and bladder, alfalfa. Alfalfa is the grandmama, granddaddy of all herbs. That is the most basic, most benign, and most beneficial herb that you could ever take into your body. They actually call it the father, mother of all herbs. Now, alfalfa helps to support the kidney. It supports the bladder. Also the sea moss, bladderwrack. It's just, listen to the name bladderwrack. It kind of lets you know what it does. Calendula, celery seed. Celery is an excellent
I've
kidney.
never heard of celery seeds, so I'm gonna have to look into that. Never heard of celery seeds. No.
Yeah, celery seed is good. Cramp bark, Ellen camp, ginger. Ginger is good for the, and a lot of people don't know that. So, as I stated before, I don't necessarily suggest any specific routine, because everybody is different. Everybody is different. The only thing that I would encourage is at least do the research, find out what the things that you can incorporate into your body for a healthy lifestyle, whether
my stuff is downstairs.
Whatever you can.
It's okay. Go ahead. It's okay.
Whatever herbs that you can that you feel like will help to benefit you. Again, it's not a cure-all, but what herbs do is help to support and nourish those body systems and those organs that we need to live a healthier life, a healthier, more balanced life. It brings a balance to your life, and as you know, once you bring balance into the life, everything kind of falls into place, even in terms of health.
So Christine, let me ask you, before we go, if people have any further questions, is there a way that they could get in contact with you? Either your phone number, or do you want them to email you?
Yes, they can feel free to email me. We can have these conversations. We can work out regimens that will fit your lifestyle. That's one thing that I have always afforded myself and to others to do, is whatever, because to the more that I can teach you, or the more that I can inform you, the more that you force me or compel me or challenge me to know more, seek more, and learn more.
Okay, what's your email address?
My email address is Mansfield, that's MANCEFIELD 63 at yahoo.com.
All right, repeat that one more time.
Okay, that's Mansfield, MANCEFIELD at 63 at yahoo.com.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing this information. I so appreciate you. You are like a walking herbal encyclopedia. And if you don't know what, you're going to find out the answer. So I appreciate that even more. You will do your research. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you welcoming me to this format. Have a wonderful day.
Always. You have a beautiful day as well. Thank you.
Peace.
So thank you all for joining us today. We will be back here tomorrow on the Nicole Small Show at 8 a.m. Make sure that you join us. We will be talking about what's going on in his Democratic Party versus the Republicans and trying to suppress voter rights. We'll also talk about the Democrats and their push against Como and some of the things that are going on with even our own Governor Whitmer right here in the state of Michigan. So I will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a great day and be safe.